Over my shoulder is the first Volkswagen ID Buzz to land here on Australian shores, and in a matter of days, Volkswagen hopes to confirm once and for all that it will be bringing the ID Buzz electric van to Australia in mid-2024, which sounds scarily far away, but is actually only 18 months away at this point. Now, there's a burgeoning electric van sector here in Australia, but few of the new entrants look anywhere near as cool as the ID Buzz. Now, this two-tone green and white example behind me is an ID Buzz Pro with the big 77 kilowatt hour battery. In today's video, I'm going to take you through some of the key specs for this car: power, range, payload, and towing. We'll also check out the interior, which looks pretty cool, but could probably be a little bit more configurable than the vehicle sitting behind me here. And I'll also run you through some of the ID Buzz range that will be coming to Australia if Volkswagen gets final confirmation, probably before the end of this year. But before we get started, hit subscribe down below and the notification bell. It's hard to avoid the fact that the exterior of the ID Buzz looks so cool, and thankfully a lot of those traits continue here to the cabin of this electric van that sits on the same MEB chassis as Volkswagen's new electric cars like the ID3 hatch and ID4 and 5 SUVs. So this is not actually like a body on frame vehicle or anything like that. It is sharing its parts with passenger cars, which should make it good to drive. I hope to do that next year. But in terms of what we're looking at here in this top spec ID Buzz Pro configuration, we've got a high-end interior. Now, there's no leather used in here, so no leather on the steering wheel. That's a substitute that feels about the same as the real thing. It is white, so you wouldn't want to have fake tan on your hands or something like that, but I don't, so I can use this steering wheel. But the cool thing is that we've got the same green and white two-tone cabin as you have in terms of the exterior paint, and it looks really cool on these comfortable, supportive fabric chairs that have armrests, because of course you've got no sort of center console running through the cabin because it's just got a rear electric motor. So there's actually nothing here to sort of base a armrest on, which is sort of cool. And that brings me to some of the key specs of the ID Buzz. It's got a 77 kilowatt hour usable battery, which is good for a range of just over 420 kilometers as tested on the WLTP testing procedure. So in the real world, we'd normally get maybe 390 Ks of range, which is not massive, but the ID Buzz Pro is capable of 175 kilowatt DC charging, which is nice and quick and gets you back on the road in about half an hour using a ultra rapid charger. In terms of the tech, we've got a 10-inch screen over here, sort of a floating center screen. It looks cool, it's crisp, but it does lack hard buttons. Now, Volkswagen tell us that they're bringing a bunch of hard buttons back. So by the time this car gets to Australia in mid-24, it may have a volume dial, it may have a fan button, who knows. Now, in front of me, there's also a small screen, which has just got your essentials: speed, range, energy consumption, that sort of thing. But it's really the storage which is cool up front. Rubberized trays here on the dash, 3 of those, deployable cup holders down here. We've also got this big box in the center, which actually comes all the way out, which is pretty sweet. And you've got a flat floor running across the center of the interior as well, just above that skateboard battery that we're sitting on. So up front, it's cool, it presents well, and it's comfy. Let's check out the second row. You get power sliding doors on both sides on this top spec ID Buzz, although they will be optional on the range. We've got a button here to close it as well, which happens nice and promptly, and then you find that you have a good amount of room here in the second row, which you'd expect because it's a van. But I'm 6 foot, cavernous headroom, lots of leg room, and really good tow room, plus a very usable 5th seat because of the flat floor as well. We've got airline style tray tables here, so you can set up your iPad. No need for a custom entertainment system here in the back. But probably one of the big surprises of the ID Buzz is that the short wheelbase it's nowhere near as big as it looks in photos. It's only 4.7 meters long, so lots of SUVs are larger than this van. And that's one of the reasons why the short wheelbase version doesn't have 3 rows, which is a bit of a surprise from a flexibility standpoint. There is the long wheelbase version coming with a 3rd row, however. I do think Volkswagen's missed a bit of a trick in making the ID Buzz a bit more configurable inside though, because there are plenty of cars out there, and vans especially, that in the past have had removable seats. So you can really customize up the interior to be whatever you need. but this seat is one piece, so you can't kind of get clever like you could in an old Citroen C4 Grand Picasso, for instance. Moving around the back of this ID Buzz Pro, we can again see the retro Kombi inspired styling. Now, I'm not always a fan of retro, but I actually think that Volkswagen has pulled it off on the ID Buzz, which is one of the worst kept secrets of the automotive industry. I'm pretty sure Volkswagen's been teasing this car for the best part of 20 years, but it's now standing right next to me. And I've got a huge power tailgate that opens up nice and promptly here with these massive struts supporting it. And you can see probably the Achilles heel of the short wheelbase ID Buzz, and that's that it's only a 2-row car, even though there are fittings and fixtures here in the back for a phantom 3rd row that doesn't exist. You only get 5 seats on this version. That said, by the time the ID Buzz is released in Australia, the plan is to have lots more variants, including a 3-row long wheelbase version, an all-wheel drive dual motor version, and even a GTX hot version of this short wheelbase ID Buzz, which is pretty cool. Of course, you get heaps of load space. This vehicle has been fitted with this dual height assisted floor. We've got a bunch of EV chargers and stuff down there as well, and then a button up here to close that vast power tailgate, and we get to see that cool look at the back again, plus all the white logo work and text work here around the back. So that just leaves the question of how much the ID Buzz would cost here in Australia. Now, many EVs cost sort of 20 to 30% more than their internal combustion counterparts, and that's the range that Volkswagen Australia says that it's targeting for the ID Buzz compared to the equivalent multivan or similar van in its range. So it's possible that there could be an ID Buzz spec for less than $100,000, but I reckon that's about what a van like this, very presentable, very comfortable, and with okay range, is going to cost when it arrives in Australia. And once Volkswagen has final sign-off to bring the car here, which we're expecting before Christmas time, so very soon, it would be due to land in about the middle of 2024. So if you're running a Volkswagen van now and you want to get your family into effectively an electric Kombi, you want to be putting an order in pretty soon, because we all know what supply of new cars is like. Anyway, I'm keen to hear your view on this cool new van, so let me know down below in the comments. While you're there, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and as always, thank you for watching Chasing Cars.